Well, the time is just gone 27 minutes past 8 a.m. as we continue with news and views this morning. And Eskom announcing once again more unit failures, seeing the stage three load shedding being extended until further notice. We going across now to be joined by Chris Yellen, energy analyst. Chris, good morning to you and welcome to the show.
Good morning to you and the listeners.
Obviously, because we're not surprised at this latest announcement by Eskom because we've become very, very used to it. And the case of Eskom, every time we think we're taking a step forward, we're taking another 10 back. And we know it's not going to end in the short term.
Yeah, look, you're right. It seems that the sort of phase of intermittent load shedding now and again has become almost, continuous. And the danger is that we kind of accept this as the new normal. This is anything but normal, and we should not accept it. And Eskom should not accept it. It needs to be resolved.
Now, looking at the reasons given, and once again, it's about the failure of units at the Kendal power station this time around, Creel Arnott power stations. And this, again, as you mentioned, is becoming the norm as far as failure of these power stations. And there doesn't seem to be any end in sight in ensuring that these power stations operate, as they should, on normal capacity, and also at the same time preventative maintenance.
Mm. Yeah, look, we've heard a lot about the reasons why we are where we are. And we hear every second day about this unit going up and this unit going down and this unit exploded and this unit's got a fire. You name it. It's either too hot or it's too cold or it's too windy or not enough rain. Um, there's always some reason, but it seems to be a growing view and suspicion that there is more to this than meets the eye. That there are firstly political agendas at play in the lead up to the ANC's conference in December. There's also a feeling that there is criminality at play, which in the areas of coal supply, inadequate, wrong quality coal being supplied, theft and replacement of good coal with bad coal. There's suggestions, fuel oil contracts of Eskom have been badly abused, and they've been caught certain criminals, stealing heavy fuel oil, which is used in the power stations. So this growing sense that there is.
Your call has been placed on hold. Please wait.
Yes, I think something obviously has happened, and Chris Yelland, for some reason or the other, we've heard that little note saying your call has been placed on hold. So I'm not too sure whether he's put us on hold, but we will try and get hold of Chris Yelland. And as Chris is saying, that a number of issues are playing out in the background. We've heard about an employee being arrested after there was some oil theft, and then there is the question of sabotage, coal theft, other high-level crimes that are rocking Eskom at this point in time, and also looking at senior officials and how they have actually fleeced the power utility. We have got Chris Yellen back. Chris, welcome back.
Oh, hi. Yes, sorry, I seem to have been cut off there.
Yes, Chris, we were just talking about the problems and internally within Eskom. Eskom is unable to do a lot of things. And I spoke about, they spoke about an employee that was arrested, but also the whole question surrounding senior officials, how they have fleeced the power utility over a period of time. the question of coal, substandard coal theft, oil theft, all of this is still continuing playing out. And like you say, there is a political game that is played out, and it appears as if the government and the authorities are not serious about cleaning out Eskom with all these problems and these criminal activities that are playing out in the background.
Yeah, I would agree with that assessment. I think the prosecution authorities, the police, and the powers that be are not putting the necessary attention to dealing with these matters.
Yes. Now, also, we've heard, at high level, we've heard the COO the other day talking about, he says, we're going to have to be living with load shedding for the next 12 to 18 months. Now, how often have we heard the statement? We've heard the president of the country issue the statement. We've seen so much come out from the likes of Praveen Gordhan as well. And at the end of the day, there is no end in sight. But this bigger political game that is playing out, and it's going to be absolutely crucial to see what actually comes out of the electoral conference of the ANC, and how Eskom is actually going to influence the decision as far as the government and the ANC going forward goes, Chris.
I think you're right. I think statements that this is going to continue for another 18 months. Or firstly, we've heard it all before, and secondly, I believe is completely over optimistic. There seems to be a constant over promising and under delivering, and I suppose it plays into this political situation because it's what the politicians want to hear and need to hear. This bout of load shedding is having serious impacts on voters and voting. And so politicians try and put out a certain narrative that this is under control and it's going to come to an end, et cetera, et cetera. And unfortunately, I think people, with Eskom and, play to what people and what politicians want and expect to hear. And of course, it's not the truth. It's not the truth. So we need to start talking about the truth. And I give you an example. There's a narrative being put out by politicians and many others that the solutions can be found relatively quickly by improving the energy availability factor of the fleet. This is far from the truth. The truth of the matter is that it is physically impossible to change the average energy availability factor of a fleet of 90 generators in a period of 2 years at a time when there is no generation reserve capacity, which means there's no space to do what needs to be done in terms of maintenance. And in fact, in this environment, if you do more maintenance in a time when you don't have generation reserve capacity, and we know we don't because we have load shedding all the time, you need to switch off more units to do that deep level maintenance. So it is impossible physically to change the energy availability factor in the space of 2 years, a fleet of 90 units at a time when there is no reserve generation capacity. So this kind of misinformation, this fiction that has been put out, that this is all about, improving the availability of the existing fleet. It cannot and it will not happen, and the data tells you that. If you look at the energy availability factor, which I've just put on Twitter in the last hour, you will see that every year it gets worse, and that is to be expected. The best that one can hope for is to stabilize the energy availability factor at the current low levels. But to suddenly think that you can turn it around after it's been declining for the last 15 years, to turn it around suddenly by miraculously doing maintenance on 90 generation units simultaneously is just fiction.
Exactly, and also, Chris, we've heard the latest with regard to employees of Eskom, and cleaning out Eskom from within, because we know that investigations are underway. Hundreds of employees have been identified that have some conflict of interest, doing business with the company, creating their own companies and doing business. Now, this again is another issue, and we know that this was a major issue for a very, very long time. And we are not talking of, a handful of employees. We are led to believe close on to 5,400 employees have obviously been identified for failing to even submit declaration forms declaring their interests.
The Special Investigating Unit, SIU, has recently issued a statement bemoaning, this practice that seems to be endemic, not only within Eskom, I might say, but within government organizations, state-owned enterprises, much more widely than Eskom. And this is a problem that has to be dealt with at the highest level, but unfortunately has not been dealt with up to now at the highest level. The other thing, just to note, I mean, you probably have seen a report. I saw it on Newsroom Africa this morning about a syndicate that was stealing petrol from the pipelines or diesel from the pipelines of Transnet. This is a criminal enterprise that goes about, stealing petrol and diesel out of the pipelines and selling it, transporting it. So these kind of criminal activities were clamped down within 3 months after they appointed a private company called Bidvest Protea Coin. They're a private sort of security and asset protection company, and they were employed by Transnet. And within 3 months, they've closed down this criminal activity, which was probably costing Transnet, millions and millions and millions of rands. It's time also for Eskom to start employing serious security and asset protection units from the private sector to do these things, because the police are not doing them. And you've got to get to the bottom of it. And I'm absolutely sure that, if you take the matter seriously and you appoint the right people, you can make a big difference, just as it has happened at Transnet.
Yes, and also I think, Chris, which other country which actually do this way? Even when one looks at coal trucks, they are taken, and we know Andre de Ruyter spoke about trucks, fitted with devices and tracking devices and the like. And we find that these devices are being jammed, blocking tracking signal. Coal is taken and then swapped. The good quality coal is swapped with substandard quality of coal. I mean, which country actually does this really? And this actually speaks volumes about where we are as a country, where we are as a government, and where we are as a nation.
Exactly, and if the authorities, criminal investigations, the prosecuting authorities, and the whole chain of activities in dealing with people, prosecuting them, sentencing them, sending out strong signals that this is not going to be tolerated. If this thing is neglected for a decade, this is what happens. And we are in this space, and we have to turn it around. And I just think it takes more determination. I think we have come to have very low expectations from government. And that is very sad, that they are not doing the job for which they are paid and for which they tax us. It's just not being done. It's been hollowed out to the extent where it's just not functioning anymore. Eskom have said time and time again how they have put evidence in front of the prosecuting authorities, the investigative authorities. The progress has been painfully slow. Painfully. I like to think that some things are starting to happen now, but we need to see this accelerate dramatically.
Well, we certainly will follow developments, Chris, and we hope it is accelerated. I've just got a comment that has come through saying that it is political. They want Eskom to fail so that a powerful family can feed off the dead carcass of Eskom and control the entire energy sector. Your comment quickly, Chris.
Yeah, it's hard to know exactly the extent of this, but as I mentioned at the beginning, there is a growing feeling that there is more to this than just poorly performing plant as a result of age, that there are, in fact, other factors. I'm not saying that they are the only factors, but they are part of a bigger picture. I think there is aging plant that has been poorly maintained, is performing poorly, it has been damaged in the past. That is part of the problem, but there's a growing feeling that there's more to this, and that there are criminal syndicates at work which are having a very serious impact on the performance, and that there also are political agendas at work at a time in South Africa where there's a lot of political tension and contestation going forward to control the resources of the country.
Well, Chris, as always, we appreciate you taking time out talking to us here on Tila Media. We wish you all the best. And once again, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Chris Yellen, energy analyst, with us this morning, and the problems at Eskom continue. And which country actually does what we are doing in this country? And these are the questions that we are asking. And, we've engaged with the likes of the Hawks, and, they've carried out a high level investigation. And when one looks at the crimes that are being committed, the theft of coal, the theft of diesel, sabotage, conflict of interest, thousands of employees refusing to even come clean and declare their conflict of interest, the manipulation that is taking place, the political games that are playing out. And here we are, and we have Eskom issue making an announcement. Yes, we will continue. Load shedding is set to continue, stage 3, and this has actually become the norm. And this is where we accept, and this is where your voice and my voice at the ballot box count, because comes election time, who are we going to vote for? Are we going to vote for the same criminal syndicates that are operating, that have deliberately run this power utility into the ground? And that is the reason why you and I are actually paying a huge price. And that's what I say, it is at the ballot box where this is actually going to count. And this is where you can raise your voice. This is where you can make your statement. The time is just gone 8:44. We come back. It is Crime Talk, and we're talking of another problem. And this is a countrywide problem: illegal dumping.